G'day guys, just going to go through the first 5 at Randwick, obvious reasons. More rain overnight, heavy 10 again, rail out to the 11 metre position, so expecting it to play similar to the last couple of weeks in that saving ground in the run, getting to, 1 to sort of 5, 6, 7 off is okay in the straight, but just saving grounds, conserving energy, not making long and wide runs seems to be what is playing best at the moment, simply just because these tracks are so waterlogged and really testing fitness wise. So expecting that to be the same here. Few smaller fields this week, so that may make it easier to make a little bit of ground. You don't have to sustain those long runs, but still playing up and on and in, ideally I would imagine. So if you're controlling the speed and saving ground, it's going to help you to maintain these runs down the straight. So that's how I'm setting the meeting up. Race 1 for the 2-year-olds, I think that Command Approved gives a side here. I think it's going to definitely cross from the wider draw. I would imagine that Captain Bond takes a sit with the earmuffs going on today and the pacifiers. I think they're trying to save this horse up and conserve energy, so I think it'll settle in behind them. Zugochi was obviously very, very impressive on debut. You would expect it to improve, but you've also got to allow that was a 2-year-old filly having its first start over 1,200 metres on a bottomless track. I know it looked pretty soft, but you've got to worry what that takes out of the horse. You've also got to be concerned about where this horse gets to in the run. So ideally, if it pings, it could end up, in the first 4. But I see horses like Diamond City, a Guinea, Captain Bond, Command Approved with far more superior earlier speed than this horse. Even a horse like Veravino could improve here. So, speed-wise, underneath Zugocha, who didn't jump that cleanly, but a small field and a last start, it could hustle up into a position. Different story from a wide draw. If it followed Command Approved across and sits outside it, then you're probably getting into the $2.10 territory where it is. But other than that, I can't get it anywhere near that short. I think Command Approved is the one that will find the fence and find the lead, and even though it's first up, should run well. Obvious queries with it are the fitness levels first up and just being able to cross without spending too much petrol early, but it's a pretty fast horse. So it's sort of Zugoch is certainly dangerous in the race, and if it's come off that last run with no issues and goes forward and finds a spot, it can certainly win and win well. Zar was very good on debut, maintained a run from back in the field at Hawkesbury. Looks like it's going to be backing on the inside here, and will need a little bit of luck, but could easily be last the fence. And another horse that can be strong late, but does need a bit of luck. I thought a Guinea ran quite well actually at Scone. Didn't have the easiest run in transit and held off a decent enough horse there with a gap behind to third. That was an open class maiden, back to 2-year-olds, but obviously up in grade here. Some as in open 2-year-old and some pretty talented horses, but gets a nice spot and can run well. Captain Bond certainly sees every chance in the run, was beaten comfortably on debut after setting, having its chance in front, I thought, but can improve and dangerous from a position right behind the leader. And Diamond City is well set up and handled them nicely at Wyong when getting full control. The horse down the bottom is a massive query runner in Veravino. Thought it trialled far better this time in, and just wish it was going to a country or provincial maiden because it would be gapping them. But obviously here a lot harder and can be back with a query jockey too. So a bit of a nightmare that Veravino shows up here. But if you're betting in the race, I'd be making sure that at least it goes around a chop out Veravino, because it does have very good ability and it's a big price in what's a tricky race. But I think Command Approved is probably the most solid option, just knowing where it's going to be and expecting the pattern to play in its favour. Race 2, very difficult. You've got horses up on speed here that could be Compassionate, drawn wide. I can't believe how short it is. Looks like it's going to struggle to get across unless it follows Impulse Control across and sits outside leader. That's probably its best chance, but you've got a horse like Buck and Beauty, drawn gate 2, who's probably the best gate horse in New South Wales, jumps as clean as any horse I've ever seen and will be difficult to cross. You've got Sabrina kicking up the inside. You've got Winning Verse trying to find a spot just in behind them, moshed up similarly, and then you've got Impulse Control, who probably want to try and find the front, but could end up outside lead, and that will affect where Compassionate gets to. I think it's a decent query, Compassionate, even though I think it's going well about where it ends up in this race. It could certainly be stuck working. Winning Verse is a horse with plenty of upside. 239-day break is the query, has trialled okay. Only one trial, but the stable's been getting them ready fresh of recent times, so expect that Winning Verse will be close enough to the mark to run well. And dangerous horses back in the field in Just Field and Sunborn, who both have plenty of class. Both can sprint really sharply, so they can overcome biases if they get the right run in transit to, like as in clean air and a bit of luck from inside draws. They're both dangerous. I think Winning Verse, Sunborn and Just Field are the quality runners in the race, and I think the on-paces should be a little bit vulnerable late here. Impulse Control probably the most dangerous if it finds the front, and I think that's a decent if. So I think Winning Verse is probably going to be the horse in the right spot to be the first challenger, and then horses like Sunborn and Just Field will need luck in running to be getting over the top of it late, but are capable of doing so. Race 3, completely impossible. This horse, Super Helpful, last start was just insanely good. If it reproduces that form, it should run well here, but it is 12th run, I think, into its first preparation. But mind you, it was 11th run into its first preparation last start when it put together a career best. So hard to line it up, but saying it should run well. You will have a bit of a speed duel here. Horses like Cracking Mo, Jousting Fresh could get going. Ferris, Super Helpful will be up there. PD will be up there early. So it looks like there's good speed, and horses like Super Helpful and Formadec are drawn those inside gates to camp on the speed. I don't know how close Formadec will be. It could easily be last the fence, which would be a nightmare for it. But a very, very tricky race with not a lot of quality to it, and not a really worth spending much time on, I don't think, mentally, because it's just a query fest with luck in running. Mr. Hustle, if it runs 1400 and gets a nice run, certainly I thought it was near the run of the week last week, but I just worried about it 1400 and maintaining a run from back in the field. There's nothing here that really excites me. Super Helpful and Formadec probably the ones to beat, but not with any excitement whatsoever. Race 4 doesn't get much more fun. It looks like Gone By can improve and will kick up from the inside draw and hold the front. There doesn't look too many challenges for that position. The two obvious ones off good first up runs are Irish Sequel and Alias. Where does Alias get? Does it just camp out the back and try and out sprint them? I'm not sure. Can Irish Sequel cross Spanish Point and sit behind Gone By and get that nice run? I think the query in the race, and what I'd be doing is, if I had Carp Fever, was to be taking off at the 800 metre mark and really trying to make this a really strong staying test, a horse that handles the ground, hard fit, back in distance. Actually didn't go quite too bad in that, went actually quite well in the Sydney Cup. And if it took off here, I think it's the knockout horse. And if I was betting in the race, I've priced it on them making it a staying test. They're a pretty smart stable, and I don't think sitting back last and trying to out sprint them is gonna work. And if they work that out, this is a dangerous horse. Even with the claim, it is well into a race like this, and can run well at odds. But it is a purely speculative play off a change of tactics that I would try and employ if I was them. And that's not to say that they'll do it, but I think it's the horse that can sort of make it a fitness test and handles the conditions, and will keep running if they choose to make it a little bit of a crazy race, which is possible. Gone By can stick on if it fully controls the speed. As I said, sort of Irish Sequel looks the one that gets the right run of the Waller horses, and I thought it should be closer in the betting to Alias than what it is, and they look the four main horses here. Spanish Point can improve, but does need to, and Moran's first up with the blinkers should improve fitness wise. Horrible race. Race 5 doesn't get any easier. I think Street Power completely, well, it does get a little bit easier. Street Power completely controls this. I would expect Sense of Honour to try and hold its back. Zarastro will be up there. Barossa Rossa will cross from outside, and I think they're the main four early. And I think Sense of Honour is the one to beat. I think Street Power will completely control the race. I'm just taking a little bit of a set against Zarastro. I know it's been racing in Melbourne this preparation and can improve, but just don't like the way it's been finding the line. Just looked a bit weak late in both its runs back in, and worried that it's not come back in its best form, and happy to sort of take it on today, even though it's coming back to Sydney, and Waller runners can certainly improve significantly. I just have sort of settled on Street Power leading, controlling, Sense of Honour being behind it, and them being the main two. And Barossa Rosa is the scary horse. If it lobs outside leader, it can improve after pulling up with significant issues last start. American President is 3 from 3 on wet, and is a very enigmatic horse if it does the left-hand turn again and ends up out where Nash found the fast lane on Think It Over, anything could happen. It's possible, but trying to set up a race with that in mind is not easy. So I think I'd rather settle on Street Power and Sense of Honour here. I'll come back with more, hopefully after probably race 1 or 2, just if there's any massive change to the pattern. At least I'll have that information at hand, and I can sort of set up the last 5 races with a bit more confidence. But yeah, I think we should learn pretty quickly if that pattern's still in play. It's just the small fields can be a little bit misleading because you don't get a lot of tempo in them, but hopefully we can sort it out and get the last 5 out nice and early. Thanks guys, good luck.